2EDU. Podcast o szkoleniach, prezentacjach i technologiach wspierających rozwój. Jeśli zależy Ci na efektywności szkoleń i interesują Cię nowinki techniczne, ten podcast jest właśnie dla Ciebie.
We are here at a nice venue of eLearning Fusion Conference, and Salian is with me. So if you can just give a brief introduction, who you are and what you do and why you are here.
Hi, Petra. I'm Salian Moore. I'm the founder of eLearning Forum, which is a conference and exhibition in France for e-learning. But I'm also experienced consultant in e-learning strategy. And for many, many years, I've helped with big projects, big deployments of e-learning, and I've learned a lot over the time, deploying e-learning for over 2 million learners around the world over the last 20 years or so. So I bring experience in actual projects and learnings from real life, yeah.
Yeah, so that's impressive, I must say. But I would like to ask you a question following up your presentation about metrics. Most of my audience, they are instructors, they are teachers, they are trainers, they are owners of training companies. So if I'm not measuring anything but a smiley sheet, is there a way or a strategy that I should start measuring something that will make me better?
Yes, there is. Even as an individual trainer or a training manager in a very small situation, you can move beyond just measuring the immediate learner satisfaction straight after the course. The trick really is what happens when the learner goes back to work, okay, when they adapt and apply. So it's really helpful if you know why they're taking the course, what it is they're trying to do, find out what work they're doing, and then measure how the work has changed. So these are the measures you take after the course and up to a year after the course. You can do it 6 months after the course and a year after the course. And this is also a very good way for a trainer to keep in contact and create a continuous learning experience, because in fact learning is continuous. It's very artificial of us to put it in a classroom and say, okay, it happens on 1 day or 1 week. In fact, it's a continuous process, and the real learning takes place when the learner goes back to work. The second thing you need to know as a trainer is, why do people learn anything in the first place? Sometimes it's because their company told them they had to. It's for compliance or legal reasons. But if you look at the internal motivation of a learner, it's a little bit like our children, you know. You watch children learning to walk or learning to talk. They learn by trial and error. They get up, they fall down, they get up, they fall down. But they're really motivated to learn. And if you look at why that motivation is there, it's the same for us as big people now as well. We want to be able to do things for ourselves. So a child wants to learn to eat and walk and talk, you know, and hold a spoon by themselves. They're really keen on this independence. The same is true in companies. So if a person goes on an Excel course, you know, learning how to use spreadsheets or something, it's because they want to start having to ask for help. They want to be able to build a model and do what if themselves and do predictive analysis or whatever it is they're trying to do. So as a trainer, the important thing you need to be able to keep doing is ask the question, you know, why are you learning this? And keep creating possibilities for the person to experiment with the actual activity. So focus on activity and focus on them becoming independent and free through this learning, and keep asking them the question, how is that going, and have you practiced, and can you do it by yourself? That is what a good trainer can do, and that's what you need to measure as well, is the ability of the learners to do the thing independently and in the real world, back at the job, away from the classroom. So that's where you have to go, really. So the trick is staying in contact and measuring things afterwards and reminding them of what they learned.
Okay, so does it mean that when I will be preparing an offer for training, does it mean that I should highlight this and for this to be a selling point, or maybe I should charge more because I will provide the service throughout the whole year? So what's your recommendation on how to approach this in a very practical way?
I mean, the ideal world, you would do a performance-based price, you know, and that you would get paid for the change in performance. So, for instance, if you taught project management and they managed projects much better afterwards, there could be huge financial gains. It would be great if you could get in on that. But everyone says, oh, yeah, but you have to be able to manage all other things being equal. There's already so many factors. So in reality, that's very difficult to do. But in reality, what you can do is, when you start the conversation with the client about why we're doing this training, is try and find out what the activity is as opposed to the skill set. Because the client might say to you, "Oh, we have a problem. They don't know enough about the Office suite, or they don't communicate well enough, or they don't write emails properly." And they tell you they need a training on that. They're telling you what competence they want you to deliver. But the good question to ask is, what is it they do? What is it that the target group do? And how could they do it better? And how would we know if they're doing it better? So, for instance, if it's writing skills, if it's writing proposals, if let's say they're pre-sales consultants or they're specialists who are helping produce offers, if they were doing a good job, there'd be more offers accepted. So the acceptance rate might go up. So as a trainer, it's a good idea to try and find out what is the activity, how will we know it's going better, what will we measure, and then incorporate that in your feedback process with the learners.
So what I hear is that I, as a trainer, as an owner of a company, I should build a long-term relationship than just a training, first of all. Then another part is that I should ask why, and not even once, but maybe a few times, ask why you send this employee and what they do is the last thing. But are there any things that or any metrics defined, or any metrics that are like standard that I can use?
The best model that you can use is the Balance Scorecard, which was authored by Kaplan and Norton. Now, this simply says that it's a bit like if you're a pilot and you're flying a plane, you shouldn't just fly using altitude. You should also know your speed, your weight, your angle, and so forth. So it's a bit like that. We're saying we're not going to fly a plane just on one measure. And the Balance Scorecard says that there are 4 types of measures that you can use, and you can use these to see how well training has gone. One is the financial. So did we save money or did we make more money? So just the shareholder value side of it. Is there a financial reward from this training? But the second one, which is really important to ask, is, are our customers happier with us now? Now that we've trained these sales people or we've trained these support people, what does the customer perceive as an improvement? Are they getting a better service? That's always a good question to ask. The third one is, are we learning faster than the competition? Now, are we smarter and sharper now than our competition? Are we doing things in the marketplace which are different and more innovative? And fourthly, we in our company, whatever it is we're doing in this company, making tables or running trains, what are the key processes that drive our business? So, for instance, in airlines, it might be booking seats on airlines. How well are we doing that? And that key process, can we make it more efficient, faster? And have we learned something that improves our process, our key process? So this brings us back really to aligning the business and the training investment. Because too often the training need is identified in a kind of stupid way, which is, I've seen training managers go, okay, I have to find out what the training needs of the business are. So they go and interview the business manager and they go, what training do you need? And then they write it down. Because it's not the right question. The question is, what problem can I solve?
Okay, so the Balance Scorecard is something that I know very well because, in the corporate environment, it's something that you define your vision, mission, strategy around this, right? But what I think of is that it means that we are not only asking about how the trained employee perceives himself and his training process, but maybe we should also ask a manager of this employee on what the performance is. And who should we ask? Because I know that not only the learner. Who should we define as a stakeholder or as a person to interview or to get data from?
I love that question. That's a great question. In fact, what I do, I'm so keen on this point about getting the input from the stakeholders that I have created a workshop so that rather than asking them, I actually get them to draw the value-adding system. And I like to bring into that workshop the different points of view, because you're right, you need a kind of 360-degree view of the problem. So I would have some of the job holders in. So let's say, I don't know, maybe it's code developers or it's pre-sales support or it's customer service or whatever. I'll get a couple of job holders in. I'll get a couple of customers in. That would be great. And then the boss who pays their salaries, the person who pays their salaries, and maybe the internal client, if there's an internal client, which could be sales. If it's pre-sales, sales might be the client, or it could be the product management. So you have internal stakeholders and external stakeholders, and I would like to get them all in to see what is the value-adding system that these job holders do, that this team that we want to train, what is the value, and get an actual picture of that value-adding system. What goes in? What do they do? What comes out? So let's say problems come in, fault reports come in, customer needs come in. They write a spec. They create an application, they document the application, they test the application, they deliver the application. It's a kind of value-adding chain. So more comes out than went in. That's the idea. And that's what I'm always looking for with the stakeholders, is to find what that more is and how we measure it.
It seems as a quite simple process, quite simple thing to do, but on the other hand, I think there is quite a risk, because if I would just get all the stakeholders in one room and I can see the potential risk of them having different goals. So have you experienced the fact that when you just bring in all the stakeholders, it sometimes means that they have different goals and they have different reasons of why they want people to get trained?
Yes, there is always this risk of different agendas, and obviously it's this problem is all over companies, and sometimes it's political, but it always leads to inefficiency. And we know that high performance comes from singularity of purpose. So the first thing I do is define with the stakeholders the purpose of the system, the value-adding system that we're looking at. So whether it's pre-sales support or it's customer service or it's application development, I get them to agree on a mission or a reason for living of this system, okay, of this value-adding system. So it could be develop applications that the company needs. And usually that is not too hard to do because we're looking at it from the outside, hopefully. Sometimes the people inside the system don't always see it. So again, taking the helicopter and looking at the whole forest is a good thing.
So the first step that I should take is to build a better relation and better long-term relation with my customer. Yeah. But, when I have a training next week and the whole agenda is planned for the whole year, what should be the smallest steps, the smallest action that I can implement this change into my work environment, to my training environment?
I think the first thing you can do, very small cost-free change, is, okay, you've been asked to do a training course, you've designed it, you're ready to deliver it, is I would just change the first and last slides. So the first slide I would just change, or I would include a slide to ask them what their jobs are, what they're doing, and you could do this as an icebreaker exercise, actually, breaking down the ice, because, of course, the more people collaborate in a training course, the more learning there is. So do it as an icebreaker, what their jobs are, and what they want to get out, what they want to be able to do after the training course, and focus on the activity. And then as the day or the week goes on, have them bring examples of real work to the training course. This is a great way of integrating work and learning, is that they bring actual work. So if we're teaching them to write, they should bring in things that they're actually writing and not work on theoretical cases, but work on real cases. That's the key thing. And then the last slide is to try and measure how well they can do something now compared to the beginning of the course. What's the delta between when we started, what you couldn't do, and what you can do? So I'm back to that thing about the children being able to sort of learn to walk and talk, and why they do it. Are they able to do this independently now? Are they able to do it on their own? Like a big kid, they walk and talk and feed themselves. That's the two changes. So the first slide and the last slide.
Also, what I hear is that I just need, as an instructor, I need to be much more open. I need to be much more flexible. And isn't it that it requires more work from me as an instructor? Actually,
in a way, it could require less. Because a good instructor will be doing more of asking questions than telling people things. And you will see that people, especially managers, by the way, learn by doing. There's the Kolb learning model that says that people are either abstract theorists, modelers, or they're activist pragmatists. The more you get close to management, the more you will find that they're activist pragmatists. So you should design your learning for them to do stuff. Well, the more they're doing stuff, the less you have to do. So in a way, it's better for the trainer because all you have to do is keep asking questions.
And I must say it's smart. So thank you very much for all the knowledge that you shared. My last question is, where can we find more information about you? Where can we find more information about your conference?
Right, so there is a website, which is eLearning Forum. So if you type in eLearning Forum, that's the conference and show in Paris. Also, you'll find me on LinkedIn, and I do write articles from time to time about key topics on LinkedIn, and I publish on LinkedIn. And just Google me, Google Sally Ann Moore, and you'll find all kinds of things. And I hope that everyone will come to Paris one day. And also what I want to do is I want to do more work in Poland. So I want to do more fun things here to help e-learning and to help the training managers.
Thank you very much. That's exciting, and I feel invited to the conference.
You are, definitely.
2EDU. Podcast o szkoleniach, prezentacjach i technologiach wspierających rozwój.